Hello, I'm Glenn W. Hunter, and this is Shor, Denny. And welcome to the 3 C's of Social Emotional Learning podcast, episode 4. Ooh, we're cooking with gas now. So again, Glenn Hunter, I am board chair of Touchstone Youth Resource Services, an SEL organization based out of Nashville, Tennessee. We bring local communities social emotional learning programs, and that equips our youth with the tools to manage a harsh and destructive environment that too often our kids are subject to. The result of our work is to contribute to building stronger communities, more functional communities, and definitely develop better respect and personal development while we're at it. Again, Shor Denny, our subject matter expert, tell them about yourself.
I'm the founder and CEO of Community Now, and we are a great nonprofit in the Riverside Inland Empire area, and we provide programming to elementary through high school that teaches our youth social emotional learning skills that help them build coping and problem solving skills and build on positivity.
So when you think about social emotional learning, we have identified the 3 C's that we think are most critical to operating in that realm successfully. Communication, coaching, community, and we don't want to stray too far from those because, again, those are the foundations of young people and older people and their ability to cope in this crazy, crazy world. But today, we have a special treat because we're going to look at our crazy, crazy world from another lens. Same topic, but another lens. And today's episode is called We're from the Government, We're Here to Help. What does that mean to you, Shor? We're from the government.
There are so many places we could go with this. But what I think we should do is talk about, since we're talking about social emotional learning, is talk about mental health and how our government deals with mental health and supports us and our families. I think that's where we should go.
Then let's park there for a while. Because as you think about mental health, we all know if you start sneezing, you go to the doctor. But what happens when you're emotionally sneezing or you're not quite right with the way you're processing the world? What steps are out there for those situations, Shor?
You know, in Riverside County, which is where we are, every county has different basic services, right? And they use their funding in different ways. But we see across the nation that mental health has been something that they're throwing a lot of money into, especially on the intervention side. So in our county, we're going to see a lot of, we have a crisis line, you know, for suicide. They have suicide trainings. There's a lot of intervention programming going on with our community. But what we're not really seeing provided by our government is something before then, right? Before I'm ready to kill myself, you know, what do you have there? Before I have a mental disorder, what are my options before that? And when looking at the county system, they do have some programs in place, but they're really not funded well. And we see that our youth are being challenged because of that. So when you have our youth being kind of ignored, even our families kind of ignored until the time of crisis, when now all services are available to you, right? You done lost it, you know, now I can't work, I can't say, oh, now you're going to give me all of these services. When at the time of the stress, when things become overwhelming, who was there for you? You know, they're there to take your kids after you've lost it. You know, they're there to, but they're not there when we actually, most of us in America need our government services, and that would be when we're overwhelmed.
Now, in our previous episodes, you've talked about the 1 to 10 scale as tension and angst is escalating. In your professional perspective, at what level in that 1 to 10 scale should activity begin in terms of, particularly with our youth, but at what point should you start taking steps to start modifying that behavior to get right?
It's continuous. Prevention is continuous, right? Intervention is a short-term intervention to an illness or a bad behavior. You're trying to correct something that has gone, in the wrong direction. With prevention, you're trying to prevent, period, that thing going in the wrong direction. So what we would look for, and what I'm actually advocating for within our community, is like a coaching line, right? So you have a crisis line, you have a suicide line, but what about I'm overwhelmed with what's going on in my world right now, right? My job might be at jeopardy because I've got all of these things going on, and now that I'm so stressed, these physical things come in place, confusion, different things that come with stress, and how are you able to move forward when you don't have any coping skills? There's no support anywhere around you to get you through that challenge. So I guess the thing is, it's great that the government is there when everything falls apart, but why not bring something in that's doing more prevention, that's helping our families stay in line and on task, and when we have these challenges that could take us one way or the other, that there's something where we can talk to someone that's going to give us some coping skills, give us a little problem solving, help us critically think through the situations so that we can improve our lives without being diagnosed with a disorder, without having our families ripped apart, without all of the extras that come from not maintaining yourself in the early position. Now, what you're saying with the scale, you're always going to want to be around a 3. So it takes time it takes work to be at a 3, right? Because 0, to be at a 3, you're already maintaining, you're already doing the prevention. So let's talk about a 3. If you're a youth, a 3 is, I did my homework last night, right? So when I go into school tomorrow, I'm not stressed that, oh my God, I've got to do this, I might get an F, or those stressors take you and your emotional level from a 3 to a 5 to a 7 because you weren't prepared. So a coping skill strategy would be do your homework. So how do people stay into a 3? You stay at a 3 by doing what is normally going to happen in your life to keep things going, right? You pay your bills on time, right? You don't take your money and party. You make sure that you take care of those things that keep your mental health in that range.
Okay. So a little bit of prevention, what is it? A little bit of prevention
is better than an ounce of cure.
Or an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure.
Yeah, there you go, something like that. Yeah.
But the idea is that if we're cognizant of those steps of going incrementally from 3 to 4 and escalating, we can actually be proactive in managing crisis within our youth.
Yes.
Now, how do we go about involving parents with that understanding? Because we can teach it to the youth because you get a chance to interact with them right through your programs.
Yes.
How do we get parents on board with that thinking?
The county provides a lot of parenting programs, and I believe that they do provide coping skills, some problem solving, and help them understand how to deal with their youth. So there are some prevention programs out there that you have to fit the criteria. Right now, I know in our county we have some programs coming out this fall that are going to hit a lot of different cultures. We have some Hispanic programming coming out to help support Hispanic families, some African American programming coming out, and some American Indian, and Asian, right? So they have some programs coming out that is going to support the family unit. They do a lot of family unit stuff, but what we're finding is that even though our county is working with the family unit and with that parent, they're still not working with the child. So again, I go to the trickle down. Their assumption is that if I work with the parents and get the parents good, that they will make sure the child is good. And what we're seeing in our society today, that even in 2-parent homes, bringing in an ACE score in a family that is very, very safe, right? There's no divorces, there's no drugs, there's no mental health, all of these things that this family, you still find that youth is going to go through challenges that they're unable to cope with. And so when we're talking about poor kids, rich kids, what kind of environment socially or that they live in, there's still going to be these stressors that they're going to have to deal with, and they're still going to have to try to monitor and maintain a semblance of I guess you could call it sanity.
Okay.
I guess a 3 would be sanity.
Okay. Okay. So a lot of moving parts in terms of not just identifying, but managing in increments so that we can have a sense of a level emotional playing field.
Yes.
Man. And so as you're moving toward that and you're introducing tools, techniques, you had said something earlier about it's better to provide less invasive forms of support. So you just can't come in there like the cavalry. You sort of have to be sort of subtle as you're introducing this.
Yeah. Well, actually, what I'm thinking is if we had programming that would support us when we're in a challenge, that would be less invasive, right? When the police come in, they ask questions that people don't want to answer, right? When you're filling out a lot of county forms, they're trying to get way deep in your business, and we don't want them in our business. We're number one scared for them to be in our business because they might come take our kids, they might, all of these things. So when I'm saying less invasive, what I'm trying to say is literally there should be programming out there for everyone to be able to join in on. They have great programming on their website. There should be a way that we could be able to go and plug in, not have to go there, but be able to, from our homes, on our phones, plug in and find ways of dealing with our circumstances, which would be less invasive than going to a therapist or going, all of the services that they provide, which are literally more emergency based, right? There's nothing, again, that's really prevention based in our county services. There are some small programs, but the thing that we need to look at is the funding. Where is the funding going? And the funding right now for our society is going way to intervention programming. We're already assuming that you're sick. We're already looking at how we're going to navigate you. Our kids right now in elementary school, when they start showing signs of challenge, of mental stresses that they're not able to deal with, our society is now navigating them straight to being a disorder, straight into pharmaceuticals, and now you're medicating a second grader because they have ODD when all that needed to happen was maybe there's something going on in that child's life we need to work with, and then you need to give them room to, get that energy out. So when we're dealing with our youth and looking at how prevention can impact their lives versus the county coming in and being invasive and almost destroying their lives, that's what we're talking about, how the county can come in and help us on a less invasive way.
One of the points you spoke to as you were going through those different steps was not just the tools, but the technology to be able to do it. And it seems to me that being able to interface technologically better with our youth as they're going through this, or with the parents, would be an efficient way to manage those different levels of stressors that they have to encounter.
Yes. Now they have that model, right? Our county has got an app right now that you can go onto with a mental illness. And you can, communicate with them, and I think you can talk to your therapist, and they got little tips and and a monitor thing there so that you can monitor your health, your emotional health as you're going through your day with little tips. The problem is it's only for those with mental illness, right? Again, it's not a prevention tool that can be used by Joe Schmo who just yesterday found out that his job might be threatened, right? Now let's talk about the spike of, oh my God, my job's in jeopardy, right? Where do you go from there? Who are you talking to, right? Right now, our only way to get out of that is look for another job, right? Bear it down, hold on, and try to see how you can move forward. Well, there are other things that might be able to be done, right? That person right now is in a place where they're not really thinking of all their options. What if there was someone they could talk to? What if there was someone that could help them clear up a little bit? Maybe they do need to go on to another job. Maybe this isn't the place for them, but help them prepare for where it is and how they're going to get there instead of life happening to them.
Wow. It's funny as you're talking about these and the different influences and how it still gets back to government intervention with regards to monitoring all of that. Do you think there are opportunities to privatize services, perhaps, so that instead of us depending on the government, maybe depending on the marketplace in terms of how we manage normalcy with our, particularly with our younger people.
You have really hit the nail on the head. Yes, we want it to be private. We really don't want the county to be doing all of this for us and giving all of our funding that's coming through federal and state sources to go straight to the county so that they can become this big conglomerate. We want organizations like mine, different nonprofits in the area whose vision is to help our youth, whose vision is to do these different things that will support our youth in a preventative way. What is that? That's sports, that's meditation, nutrition, coaching, all of these things that can help build a person and keep them going before they get to that crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no funding, especially in 2019 with the new budget that came in from the Trump administration. They in California wiped out all of the prevention programming on the budget. So they went to zero, literally went to zero,
Mm-hmm.
Which means that those organizations that were providing those opportunities for our community are now going out of business. They're not going to be there for our youth, right? So programs like ours are looking for funding sources. Where can we go so that we can bring this service and this program to these youth and to support them? And in California, there is the LCAP, which is their with the school districts, the way that they get funded, but that money is being broken into 1 million pieces. So how do we in our community impact our youth on a broad level without the support of our government?
Mm-hmm.
We need the funding to come through. We need philanthropy. We need to change the conversation from being an intervention and I'm waiting until you're freaking falling apart to, whoa, there are some challenges that we should start dealing with now so that you don't get to that point, so that you're not at bankruptcy, so that you're not getting a divorce, so that you're not, because it's not only financial, it's emotional, it's relationship based, it's our lives as a human being. We have a lot going on. We're carrying a lot of plates. We're worrying about a lot of things, and in everyday life we feel that we're weak. We've not stood up to the expectations of our society or our families because we're not able to deal with the stressors that are coming in. I just really believe that the shootings that are going on are a reflection, a symptom of this, because people are going to the point of overload. And then they're going beyond. And there aren't sources out here for us to be able to even talk to each other in a manner to where we might be able to guide and help each other. We're all hiding from each other. So our society needs to be a little more prevention based. We need to look at bringing funding in to help in a more prevention situation rather than our government coming in being invasive and dictating how we run our lives. We can run them. We just need a little support here and there, to help us problem solve, cope. But we don't need that invasive, I'm taking over now and, you just do what I say.
Again, we're from the government, we're here to help. But I think that Shor brings up a number of great points with regards to using all the resources that are available to our society at large in order to make sure that we're healthier individuals, not just physically, but more importantly, emotionally, that we are getting along, we are cooperating, and we're building a better future together.
Yeah.
So again, it gets back to our 3 C's. Are we communicating? Are we coaching correctly? And are we building community? And I think this conversation definitely checks those boxes. So Shor, outstanding work. We're just bringing this to the forefront. And for our audience, thank you for bearing with us as we've gone through this. There's going to be more. We haven't solved all the social emotional learning issues out there, but we're going to keep working at them and bringing it to your attention. We thank you for your time.
I have to let you guys know that I am going to be speaking at 2 events coming this fall. If you'd like to hear more about what we're doing with trauma and ACEs and all of that, I'm going to be at the 33rd Children's Network Convention. I'm speaking on September 18th, so if you're interested in that. And I'm also speaking at the Rotary World Peace Conference in January. Both of those events are going to be at the Ontario Convention Center. If you'd like more information, go to our website, www.communitynow.info, and we're interested in any feedback that you have. Please, at this YouTube site, put down some comments of different topics you'd like to hear, or if you have some input to what we're talking about, let us know, because we're really interested and we really want to get the conversation going.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Again, thank you very much. You got 2 dates with Shor to make sure you keep up with. And again, continue to contribute to our channel and let us respond to the needs that you're seeing with regards to SEL. Glenn W. Hunter, subject matter expert, Shor Denny, thank you very much.
You guys be kind out there.
This podcast is brought to you by Coach G SAT Training. Coach G provides secret tools and tips to high school students to maximize their performance on their SAT and ACT college prep exams. Remember, scores equal scholarships. Call 951-364-3222 to learn how to get started to earn a spot at the college of your choice.